Trump that his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, is not serving him well?
I don't have knowledge of that as well.
Is Rudy Giuliani serving the president well? Do you worry that he's undercutting President Trump by traveling to Ukraine?
I can't engage in hypotheticals and generalities. I don't know what he's doing in Ukraine. I know he's been active there for many years. So it's just, for me, it's too hypothetical. I know Mayor Giuliani in different capacities, and I certainly know that he was one of the president's personal attorneys during an extended, protracted period of time here in the White House when the president was under assault, under attack, as were many other people, including the taxpayers who had to shell out $35 million for an investigation that produced nothing, including collusion that was promised by your network, respectfully, and many others.
And Kelly, just to be clear, is there any chance that you will cooperate today, or is the White House holding the line and you will not be sending anyone to Capitol Hill, just to be 100%?
It's about cooperation. It's about colluding with an illegitimate process. They don't have the articles of impeachment ready. They go on TV where they're not under oath, they being the chairman of these committees, other Democrats, rank and file Democrats on these committees, Kristen, and they don't tell us what's in the articles of impeachment. So in what are we participating? We have TVs. I'm sure you guys will give it wall-to-wall coverage. We can follow along and see for ourselves. I don't think the American people really have much interest in that. If you look at the polls, it's going in the other direction. I think that's why the Democrats are spending money. I hope not taxpayer money, but that's why apparently they're spending money trying to poll and focus group. What are the best terms? What will the public accept? That's not the way that we remove presidents in the world's greatest democracy. We remove presidents from office in extraordinary circumstances where the evidence is clear and is right in front of us, as there was, frankly, with President Clinton. He perjured himself on August 17th, 1998. He lied under oath. We all saw it happened. And he perjured himself. And so people drew up articles of impeachment on that and a few other matters. But maybe in the Senate, if it's a fair trial and it approximates more of what a trial looks like to most of us, those who have practiced law in the past and those who, I think, breathe air, which is everybody, that you say, well, a trial is where you can actually present witnesses, and the people who are the judges, meaning the chairman of the committee, don't disparage the defendant, who then is also allowed to have attorneys present. So we're cooperating by responding, but we're not going to do their dirty work just because they can't figure out their way out of this paper bag that I guess Pelosi and a few other hotheads put them in back 2.5 months ago, in about September 22nd or so. They did this to themselves, and they're in a bind because, you saw she was on a town hall the other night. It tanked in the ratings, but more importantly, she actually said during that town hall, can we talk about something other than impeachment? That's pretty funny because we're doing that every day. The president is not just not talking about impeachment, he's doing the business of this country. But we feel like, in some ways it's an out-of-body experience for me because we're not participating, we're watching, we're spectators too. And it's just unfamiliar to me that this process is unfamiliar. Is it a hearing? Is it a fact-finding, fact-gathering? There wasn't a fact witness last week among those 4 professors, not a single fact witness. Matt Gaetz asked them that, the congressman of Florida, and they all admitted that there was no fact witness.
And on the IG report, Kellyanne, today, do you believe, Kellyanne, is the White House prepared to accept all of the findings of that IG report?
I haven't read the report.
But are you prepared to accept the findings, whatever they may
be? Are you
be?
prepared to cover them all, or just the ones you think fit the narrative that you've been pushing for 3 years, Hallie?
I'm asking you.
Respectfully, I'm very curious to see if you'll cover it. And are you going to say, well, they didn't say anybody did anything wrong, they didn't say anybody spied on the campaign, or will you in fact say that no good comes out of people at the highest echelons of the FBI and the DOJ playing around with American democracy and American tax dollars by secreting from their superiors, one Bruce Orr secreting from his superiors that he met with Christopher Steele, and secreting from his superiors that his wife Nellie Orr simultaneously worked for Fusion GPS, which met with Steele and helped to assemble the dossier. That they concealed, well, I'm highlighting what I know will be in there. I don't know everything that will be in there, but certainly I'm just putting out there, I'm helping you out, putting out there a few things that you may want to cover that will be in the report. So we should all look at the fullness of the report. It won't be nothing. There won't be nothing in there. So it really, we'll see who covers what from the report. Also expected to be in the report is the fact that people were not honest about what their evidence was, or the lack of evidence to request the FISA application to begin with, the application for the FISA warrants to begin with. They weren't honest about the surveillance of Carter Page. They weren't honest about who paid for the dossier. That's incredibly important. We're trying to impeach a president over calls whose transcripts have been made public, aid that Ukraine is using for cyber rifles and javelins as we speak here today, and yet you're not bothered at all by the fact that you had people working on the taxpayer dime to try to subvert democracy and to withhold information that the Democratic National Committee and the Democratic presidential nominees campaign were paying for this dirt. And it's a good time to remind everybody, dossier is just a fancy French term for a load of crap. And it's a big reason why respectable outlets all through 2016 would not run with a dossier. I know you wanted to, but you couldn't. And they waited until January 10th because they knew the president was having a big press conference in the atrium of Trump Tower the next day. And I tried to help out a network that night by telling one of its anchors what was true and not true in their reporting. I stand by that. It's still true, still untrue, and still true. And we'll see more of that today. But I hope that you won't just say there's nothing there, they didn't spy, There's nothing there. And anybody, which I think includes everybody in here and their parents, who covered collusion in Russia in the Mueller investigation at any point, owes it to the country to cover this too.
Following up on that, if the report says, for example, as reported, that there was adequate predication in the start of the Russia investigation, doesn't that sort of undercut the administration's case that this is all a ruse?
That was a ruse.
The Russia investigation was a ruse.
We know that the Russian investigation produced nothing because we read the Mueller report and we saw Bob Mueller testify. Neither the original nor the sequel were worth discussing. And that's why you don't discuss anymore. That's why you've moved a little bit next to Russia onto Ukraine. Because the goal is the same, is to get the president. That's the goal. The goal is not the Mueller investigation, the impeachment and removal of the president. The goal is to get rid of him. The means to that end is the Mueller investigation, the Mueller report, the FISA warrants, the surveillance of Carter Page and others. But the goal is not to get the story, it's to get the president. And is there something in the Mueller report that I missed? Is there somebody in prison that I don't see? Is the president indicted that I've missed? Because I've been in here for a few minutes. It may have happened while I've been in here.
Obstruction of justice that really haven't been answered.
Well, but who should answer them? In other words, their claims.
The president.
Why should he answer that? Their claims.
Well,
they're in a
because
report.
It points to him.
No, they're in a report. Where are the charges?
Why did
Where is the crime? I mean, this is all. These are reports and investigations in search of crimes, and you know it. And he's going to be here in the Oval Office today, in the cabinet room. I think you'll all be in there. I'm not sure. Working on education reform, planning the next meeting with foreign leaders, speaking to foreign leaders over the weekend on any number of different things, trying to get that USMCA done. I mean, this is a split screen America right now. Investigations, insinuations, interpretations versus doing the business of the American people.
Why not send White House lawyers to the judiciary?
I think the question is why send them?
And why not?
What would you do there?
You just laid out a bunch of real claims that the White House has consistently been making. Why not send lawyers there to make those claims? Why not send lawyers there to defend the president?
Well, why do they have to defend the president against what? In other words, defend him against what? Is he on trial?
Democrats have consistently said that this president is trying to obstruct justice, that he was abusing his power.
But that sounds like punditry. Where's the seriousness here? Where are the charges? This is not a court of law. This is not even the branch of government, Yamiche, that is the court of law, that is the judiciary. And speaking of the judiciary, why hasn't this co-equal branch Congress that is trying to impeach the head of the another co-equal branch, the President of the United States, and the executive branch, gone to the third co-equal branch, the judiciary, to try to get some movement?
But the White House has been defending him on social media. You have been sending out statements. Why not actually do that in the hearing?
But why would we? In other words, why? Why would we legitimize this process that the American people can't even follow, aren't digesting? The polls are going in the opposite way. It's forced the Democrats to focus group terms and phrases.
So why make the defense to the American public on social
We
media?
are making the defense to the American public. Why should I show up and play on your turf if I don't even know what the sport is? I think you've hired all the referees and umpires, and you literally have all the balls and all the protective gear. Why would I show up there? Meaning the White House. Why would we show up there? What would we say? What are the questions? I mean, it's all harassment. They've had a chance to have witnesses, and they've blown it. They've had some law professors preening around who came already biased against the president. That's fine. Everybody has the right to feel the way they do politically. But what a poor choice of professors to try to lecture America the way they lecture law students every day. I paid a lot of money for my law degree. We got that for free, and nobody paid attention to it.
Comments on Rudy Giuliani a little while ago. You seemed to suggest that he'd been the president's lawyer in the past when you were talking.
No, I
about
didn't say that. I said he is the president's lawyer when it comes to things like the Mueller investigation. But you're asking me. Everybody's trying to conflate what he's doing over in Ukraine, a place where I understand, has been active as a private citizen, as a consultant, as a national security expert, frankly, or cybersecurity expert for many years, and the president. So I don't know what he's doing there. I'm sure he'll tell you what he's doing there. He speaks with many of you regularly. He is active on social media and in regular conventional media. It sounds like he's over there trying to get a story, and it sounds like the Congress is trying to do here. Maybe Mayor Giuliani is as unimpressed as many other Americans are with what they've seen so far, and he wants to get to the bottom of corruption. We'll see. I mean, does anybody here think it's a bad idea to investigate Burisma? Really? We don't pick the board members, you know. They got picked for us. We were all busy doing other things. Well, certain people were on the board. I don't pick the board members of Burisma any more than I pick who's running for president in 2020. We just take that as it comes. But how in the world is it not legitimate to see what was known as one of the most corrupt energy companies in Ukraine being led by one of the most allegedly corrupt Ukrainians? So why is that not relevant when we are, as a country, and have just provided an enormous amount of money to Ukraine, much more than President Obama ever did.
You mentioned the Senate trial. What does the White House want the Senate trial to look like? And more importantly, what is the president doing to get those things? Is he calling Mitch McConnell? Is he saying, I want senior advisors in the White House to testify?
So the president knows that will be a more fair process because that will be a trial. And a trial is both familiar to the public and more in keeping with our basic due process rights under our Constitution. You can present evidence, you can challenge evidence, you can present witnesses, you can challenge witnesses, you can object to these diatribes, these screeds from people like Nadler and Himes and certainly Schiff. Where's he been this weekend? Schiff, where they just go on for 3 or 5 minutes and they say things about the president that would never be accepted in a court of law. Objection, 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 objection. And in fact, they would probably be removed from being in charge, being an impartial judge in a trial.
It's not clear whether there will be live witnesses in a Senate trial, which is why I'm asking if that's something the president wants.
That's up to the Senate.
So he's not asking Mitch McConnell to have live witnesses so we can have Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, or potentially senior staff as he suggested.
I think it'd be great to have live witnesses. That's certainly what the Democrats have done. So if those who are suggesting we should do what the Democrats have done, I'm all for live witnesses. I think it's great to have live witnesses.
Come on, we got
Will they show up? I have a 9 o'clock meeting.
What's the White House's position on these 3,500 pages of phone records that Chairman Schiff has acquired? He's got obviously every.
It sure has somebody in the media worried, and you ought to be, because this guy will stop at nothing, including flouting the law, lying on TV, and some of your networks you can continue to have him on anyway, shame, who isn't under oath when he's preening around and pretending that these are fair processes, and now trying to and successfully acquiring phone records of private citizens and of members of Congress and publishing them. That's scary. Nobody made him a king. I think he confuses the endless invitations to appear on TV, never under oath, with credibility and legitimacy and ability to surveil and acquire the phone records of people who are not on trial, have not been prosecuted, have not been found guilty of anything.
Will he be called as a
And
witness in a
it's a
Senate
real
trial?
desperation. Well, he should be. He should be. He's a fact witness, isn't he? He's acquiring people's phone records. His staff met with the whistleblower and he lied about it on MSNBC, and they forgave him, I guess. He lied about it, and they had, sounds like they had dealings. So sure, he's a fact witness for all this. We'd love to have him, but I don't know how we can have a fair trial in this. I'll tell you what. If there's anyone in this room who disagrees that Adam Schiff or a Burisma board member, pick one, anyone, is not more of a fact witness than professors or people who have worked in the administration who have never talked to the president, let alone about Ukraine or Ukrainian aid from the U.S., of course they're fact witnesses. So we either want to get to the facts or we want to get the president. I would prefer to get to the facts. And so far, we he's got a pretty busy schedule, I have to be frank with you. We tell him what's going on, we monitor it. We being a lot of different people, especially people who work in his press shop, which I don't. But we tell him what's going on here and there. He gets calls from different people, but he can't just sit there and watch these proceedings. Frankly, he's like most Americans. He can't just sit there and watch the proceedings.
How's Mick Mulvaney doing?
He's doing great. I just saw him in my office, and now I'm going to his office for a meeting.
And the
If you'll
president still
excuse
has
me.
confidence in him?
Sure, of course.
Any updates on USFCA?
How are you doing at McClatchy? Great, thank you. Your boss is happy with you?
I hope so.
But you don't know? Do they have confidence in you? Of course. Okay, great. Do that.